guys. Welcome again to another QT Connect Coffee Talk, where we tell stories about everything queer in tech. I am Nobel, your co-founder for Queer Tech. I'm also your host, and I am based from the beautiful city of Montreal, Tehuatecan. And I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are located in the unceded indigenous lands. The Kanien'kehá:ka Nation is recognized as the custodian of the lands and waters on which we gather today. As usual, before we get started, I would like to thank our QT annual partners and Pride Hacks partners for this year. Without them, Queer Tech would have not been able to continue the programs that we deliver to our community. So thank you to Unity Technologies, FanHack, Fierté Montréal, PaySafe, Breed Life, Element AI, Local Logic, and Mocha.ai. And this is the last episode of this year. And again, looking back at 2020, it's been a crazy year, the least to say. So I'm pretty excited that it's coming to an end. I mean, this pandemic have took a toll on our mental health, on our finances, and our health in general. And so I'm really excited to see it coming to an end and starting the new year with, the vaccine is coming up, which is really exciting. And so I hope it'll get distributed as fast as possible. And starting to see some glimpse of hope for a normal life is very exciting. But until then, stay safe and healthy. So before we get our speaker or our guest today on the line, I'm excited to announce that we launched our job board. And it's really a big thing for us this year. Andy and I have been working with our volunteer, working tirelessly on figuring out ways how we can continue to connect our community to different opportunities in the tech industry. So we're very excited to announce that. You'll see it on the screen down here. It's queertech.org/jobs. And so there are some jobs that are available. You can also create a profile on there and access the job opportunities and apply from there. So if you're looking for a job, go check it out. If you're not, feel free to share it with the community and help us spread these opportunities. As usual, if you are looking to volunteer with Queer Tech, we're always looking for support. And you can email me, nofel@queertech.ca, or email Andy at andys@queertech.ca, as you see in the screen. There is also multiple opportunities to help in terms of hosting, where we have a packed schedule next year and calendar in terms of events that we are hosting, from a job fair to Pride Hacks and so many other opportunities. So if you're interested, please email us. We'd love to talk to you. Again, if you have any questions for those who are live with us today, questions or comments are always welcome. You can post them on the social media that you're using. Be aware that when you post any information, Andy look at them and might share some of those comments with us live here. Also, if you have any questions, you can ask them there, and Andy will help bring them up in our conversation. So if you remember when we started these this live streams, our goal always from these QT Connect Coffee Talks is that we want to share queer stories, and we want to share stories about queer people who got into tech and advanced their career in tech, so we can inspire, but also help you figure out the path that some of people took in the industry and how you can take advantage of their learning. But another piece also that's very important is talking about our queer entrepreneurs, people who have took the leap to start companies and really and launch their businesses. So I'm really excited that today's guest is Kasole Nyembo. Kasole and I met at queer tech events actually a couple of years ago, and he've been coming to a lot of the events and get to know him. And I'm really excited for you to meet. Kasole is an economist who was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He's been always passionate about economics. And he actually, when he was a kid, he wanted to be a Nobel Prize winner for creating a fully functioning eye. Instead of pursuing that dream, he built a startup that connects researcher and society through videos. Kasole is the founder and CEO of 5minutesofscience.com. Welcome, Kasole, to the show. I love these fireworks.
I love the fireworks.
You're coming in style. So wonderful. Thank you again for answering our invitation to come on the show and share your experience. I'm really excited for our conversation today.
Oh, please, my pleasure.
So much there to unpack. So I'm gonna dive into it. So tell us, just give us a quick overview about, we know that you were born in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You moved to Montreal. How did you get to move here? What did you do? Kind of walk us through some of the timeline in your
Exactly.
life.
Yeah. So short background. So basically, I was born in the Kinshasa, the Democratic Republic of Congo. I stayed there until I was 6, and then my family we moved to Ottawa. In Ottawa, I stayed there until for a while actually. So I went to high school in Ottawa. I went to university at McMaster.
Mm-hmm.
After university, I came back to Ottawa to work for the government as an economist. And 2 years ago, I decided to move to Montreal because I started my startup and I love Montreal and I want to be close to our partner.
Best decision. Moving to Montreal.
It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. It's a bit more lively than Ottawa, so
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah,
that's great. So, did you start your company in Ottawa and then you moved here, or
exactly? So basically, in Ottawa, I was working in the government as an economist. As I mentioned before, I was working a lot with numbers and all that stuff. But I really want to do something that was more impactful. Like I always tell people that. I like to create things, right? So as an economist, we do really good work. Like we're working for the government, we write really good papers and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that's tangible, right? Nothing that I can say like I did that at the end of the day. So that's why I decided to begin my startup.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. So as an economist working at the government, I did my startup and working at the same time. But then the work was way too much, so I had to choose. Between continuing by pursuing my career in the government or doing the startup, and I decided to do the startup.
Wonderful. And before we dive into talking, and I have a lot of questions about the company. I like to ask our guests about what pronoun they prefer to use, and also talk about identity. And I want to ask you because I feel we're immigrant to Canada. We come from a different continent, and there is so much ways how we define and how we see ourselves. So tell me a little bit, what are your pronouns and how do you identify?
Exactly. So my pronoun is he or him. That's my pronoun. And how do I identify? It's weird. I have being born in Congo and going back very often. I feel it's weird. I feel 100% Congolese, but 100% Canadian at the same time.
Uh-huh.
So it's a weird dichotomy, but I really feel both. Like I'm very both. So, and one of the reasons actually I started the company is, as you mentioned before, the company is to connect university researchers and the general public. And the company actually started when I was in the Congo.
Yeah.
The idea started in 2016 when I was in the Congo, and there I saw my father is a prof, so I went to the university once in a while to see him teach. But right outside the university, there were small scale farmers who plant very small scale fields, and they work with technology that's so old, the really very traditional things. And I was thinking right across the street, there's a university where they do very high advanced research in agriculture. I was like, how come those farmers are not connecting with the university, right? And I'm just like, what's the issue? What's the barrier, right? And that's where I got my idea. I got my idea with saying like, is there an easy way to put people, researchers, in contact with people who could use the research, right? Those small scale farmer. And in Congo, everybody has a cell phone, but not everybody can read and write.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, what about videos, right? Video is a really good way for the researchers to explain what they do.
Yeah.
And to introduce yourself to stakeholders, right? Whether they be Element AI here in Montreal, or whether they be a small scale farmer in the Congo.
Yeah.
So that's why I did that. Yeah.
And I remember, when we met a couple of years ago and we were talking about your idea, I thought it was brilliant because when I moved to Montreal, the first job I had was at Tandem Launch Technologies, and you might be familiar. And what we did was technology transfer. So we worked with a lot of university researchers, and basically we would evaluate the technology and see if there's a commercialization opportunity, and then they become a startup or an incubator at Tandem Launch. And I remember, I spoke with so many tech transfer offices, with a lot of researchers, and I've always been fascinated about the amount of research that's been done, but no one knows about it, right? A lot of time it sits on the shelf, or it's at the university, and so democratizing that information is a beautiful thing. And so I love that idea. And so I want to go like early on. So you get the idea in the Congo, you kind of came back to Canada. Walk us a little bit through how did you come up to say, okay, I'm gonna start a company that's
so it's interesting for people who listen who don't have a tech background. Like me, I don't have a tech background. I'm an economist.
Yeah.
But, so it's very interesting as a non-tech person to start a company. But basically, as you mentioned, when I came back to Canada, I talked to a whole bunch of knowledge transfer offices in different universities, and like, oh, that's a really good idea. I talked to NSERC. NSERC was also like, that's a really good idea. We're gonna see if we can work with you. So at the end, like, there was a lot of contracts coming in, and people thought it was a really good idea, and that's how it started, right? I had an idea, and then I thought about it. I talked to some people, and then afterwards, when I saw that there was a need. So then afterwards, it's weird. So I connected with my co-founder actually through Craigslist. So I went on Craigslist and I was like, I'm looking. As I said, I had no technology background, right? So I didn't know how to start a startup. So I went on Craigslist and I'm looking. I was saying like, I'm looking for a person who's really good at video and is really passionate with technology. And I found Sean, and Sean is really great. I like transforming ideas into videos and all that stuff like that. So that's how it started. So I encourage all you people who do not have a tech background that you can still have a tech firm if you have a good idea, right? So
awesome. What are we gonna do? I love you shared with us a video that I want our viewers to look. So why don't we take a minute and watch the video of 5minutesofscience.com and the type of videos that you make with researchers.
My name is Sean Hercules, and I'm currently a PhD student in the Department of Biology at McMaster University under the supervision of Dr. Juliet Daniel. The incidence of breast cancer is higher in white women compared to black women. However, the mortality is higher in black women compared to white women. And we're not sure why this is. Some people think it's because of social economic status, access to healthcare, simple things such as mammography rates, and even though these things do contribute to the mortality rate in breast cancer, even after adjusting for these things mathematically, we still see a higher mortality rate for breast cancer in black women compared to white women. We're not sure why this is. If we look deeper at this breast cancer phenomenon, we know that there are different types of breast cancer, And one of the most aggressive subtypes of breast cancer, called triple-negative breast cancer, there's a higher prevalence of this particular cancer in Black women compared to white women. And this is probably what's driving the higher mortality rate.
Wonderful. Great. Wonderful. And I know you have these videos on your website, right? So anyone who is interested in research, you can go to 5minuteofscience.com and watch some of there are some amazing videos about a lot of research. So let's go back to the company, because I think it's always a great story. A lot of people, when they think about startups and tech, they think about they need a computer science degree and it's complex and it's really hard. Don't get me wrong. Starting a company and running a company is a very hard thing to do, but there is a lot of ways to start a company. And I love your story. So, you had the idea and you start talking with some people in the government, with the universities, but tell us a little bit more, like, how did you get started? Did you have funding? Did you have money? Did you just launch a website? Walk us through the steps, how you got rolled out.
So about the funding, I had some fundings here and there, but a bit later on. So I had funding from the UN, for instance, to work in Congo, to film some researches from the Congo, but that was a bit later on. We've always been cash flow positive. So from the very beginning, basically we make money from our contracts, right? That's how we make money, because maybe I was defeatist, but as a Black entrepreneur, I just assumed that I would not get funding. I would never get funding from the VCs. So our business plan was always try to be cash flow positive from the very beginning. And if funding comes, funding comes. If funding doesn't come, it doesn't really matter, because that's not really, exactly. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you just said is very interesting. We know that a lot of entrepreneurs, the idea is people want to be entrepreneurs, and the first thing they think about is VC funding, right? Yes. But usually, you look at the landscape, most of people who are funded are, white, straight, heterosexual men who really kind of get the funding. And so, you're about to start a company, you're a minority group, a Black person, you're queer. And so you don't even think about going funding. You're like, I'm going to, from day one, start thinking about a positive business. And where do you think that fear comes from? Like, was it, did you just look at statistics? Did you knew about it? Like, tell us, how did you come to that?
Exactly. So I'm more of a numbers guy, right? So I really like working with numbers. So I looked at the statistics and I just figured out that instead of spending, I don't know, a few months making a deck and all that stuff for funding, it's better to invest that money in like finding new clients, right? Spending that time in finding new clients. I feel like that was the most value was to that. So that's exactly how I did. I just said the odds were against me. So is it good to have a business that just runs on our own cash flow? And even if the investor is interested, they'll see the cash flow and be like, oh, wow, they actually make money, right? So I didn't want to put the horse before the cow, behind the cow, right? So it's
interesting also because in this era when we are launching tech companies, everyone starts thinking about scale and growth. We don't talk about revenue and profit on day one. It's very, especially in North America, starting businesses is all about growth. And I see very few entrepreneurs that thinks also about revenue. In Europe, and especially in Germany, I know a lot of investors, that's like the first thing they look at, right? Do you have revenue? Like what is your path to revenue before you do some investment? So you looked at your business and you said, I will launch my business and don't need to have fundings to do it. Did you just write a proposal? How did you find your first client?
The first class was basically like just walked around. So I was in Ottawa, right? So in Ottawa, I had access to folks from NSERC, from CIHR, so from the big research institutes. I had the University of Ottawa. So I just worked on my contacts, right? So I had McMaster. I went to McMaster, so I talked to McMaster and see, like, I'm an alumni. I'm trying to start a startup. Can you help me with not being an investor, but being a client of mine, right? So that's exactly how I went. Like I just was looking for clients, so I did a lot of sales pitches.
That's great. So you really, it shows like there is always ways, right? When you remove, a lot of people, and this is really interesting because a lot of the conversation we have in entrepreneurs, everyone sees funding is just the way to go, right? You think about, I want to launch a business, I want to launch a tech startup, and automatically the first thing they think is, how do I get my VCs to give me money? Very few people think about getting a first client. And in my opinion, it's really, really important that you think about getting that first client, because what you learn from that first client is so important on how your business would grow than just focusing a lot of your efforts on getting the funding. And so, so it's a really, really props on that. And I think that's really great way. So once you get your first client, did you already know what your business model was? How did you want to do it? Tell us a little bit the path. So once you get that first client, how did you start growing the company?
So before even getting the first client, I just did a lot of interviews with stakeholders, right? So I did interviews with, as I said, universities. I did stakeholder interviews even with how do you call it, with tech companies, right? I was asking tech companies, how do you outsource your research, right? How do you make sure to connect with and many of them actually, I talked to Microsoft, I talked to Google, and they were all saying that we have a big problem is that we have a big connection with Stanford, the Harvards, with the McGills, but we don't know what's going on in smaller schools, right? And we want to find a way to connect with those researchers because we know they do good stuff, but we just don't have the resources to do it. And they thought that was a really good idea. So that's how I basically built the business model.
Yeah.
And as I said, the first few clients were basically we're also building the business model, right? So I talked to them. I was very, very close to the first few clients. Now that it's grown, we're working with clients now all over the world. We have clients in South Africa, in Congo. We have clients in Germany. So now it's a bit more spread out. But the first ones we really went. I really went to them. I talked to them. I had meetings with them. I still connect with them. Send them Christmas cards. So
that's
the first few I really built the business for the first few, and then afterwards it grew.
Yeah, and tell us more about how it works. So are you focused only on scientific research? Are you doing research in general?
Yeah.
And what is the goal of these videos?
Exactly. So basically, I'm going to tell you about a bit of the format of the 5 minutes videos, where we ask three questions: introduce yourself, describe your research, and most importantly, explain why it's important. And basically, we work with. We'd like to focus on AI, but we work with anybody, any researcher. And the goal is really to have a quick introduction with the researcher, right? So we have a database that's very well categorized. So if you're a company and you're looking for research on heart diseases, right? So you can type heart diseases. You see all the researchers that work on heart diseases. And it's an introductory platform. It's a first introduction. That's how we see it.
Okay.
And yeah.
That's really good. There's something interesting you've mentioned is you looked at your network and you've started connecting with people. You start to get to know people. You're building relationships. You even send them Christmas cards.
Yeah.
In your opinion, talk to us a little bit. I'm thinking the importance of a network, right? I think a lot of entrepreneurs, sometimes, you start building your company and you stay at home and you spend a lot of time thinking, and it's important to think about the business, but you also need to put yourself out there and build that network. So talk to us, how did you, start building that network? How did you build these relationships with some of these clients of yours?
It's basically, as I said, the first people I went to was my alma mater, investor. I gave them a lot of money throughout my life, so I went to them, I give you a lot of money. Can you my first clients on that? So that worked out pretty well. And as I said, I was actually really lucky because I worked with the government for 10 years beforehand. So I knew a lot of folks in different departments in the government. So I basically went on the phone and be like, oh yeah, I know this person will introduce me to this. That's what we're doing. That was really good. So I think we have to find, like, in terms of your network, you really have to, everybody has a different strength and weaknesses in the network, right? So my weakness is my network. I didn't know any tech people.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew other people, right, that I can work with. So you really have to look at it and look at the strengths, the weaknesses, and also follow through. Lots of people will take a while to answer the emails and stuff like that, and just follow through. That's a good. Don't harass people, but just follow through.
Yeah, very important. So I'm someone who's been in tech for a while. I do business development, and my job by nature is to talk to people, to grow a network. And I tell a lot of people, everyone is so scared to send that first message and ask for help because you think you're going to be rejected. And it's so, it happens, but it's so also, you'll be very surprised what people are willing to do if you ask for the help, right? And so, people who don't have a network, sometimes you get discouraged because you're like, well, I don't know anyone, I don't know where to go. But all you have to do is start to look around, right? I tell people, come to Queer Tech. We have an amazing community that you can connect with people. There is people in the community that you can just throw your ideas out there and ask, hey, I'm looking to connect with this and this type of people. And you'll be surprised how many people would do that. The second thing that you mentioned that I find really interesting is following through. And I tell a lot of people, sometimes people will send one email. I also get that. And I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to help. I'll get back to them. And then you get busy and I don't answer the email, right? Follow through. Just send me another email. Don't do it every day and don't start calling me and doing LinkedIn, but you can, every 2-3 days, just send, hey, I really need this help. And you become top of mind and I would help. And so a lot of people would just need to follow through, right? And nudge the person to help you and they will. So those are great, really, really great tips. And the third point that you mentioned, it's building relationship with the network, right? Don't also just come when you need something, but start building that relationship. So I love your idea of sending holiday cards, contacting people, checking on them, just saying hi. And so you maintain that relationship and you say, hey, I'm thinking of you in this holiday season. I don't need anything. I just want to say hi and I'm thinking of you and thank you for the help. And so that's a great way also to build relationships with your network and the people that are around you. That's really good. So you've never looked for funding. I'm always amazed at entrepreneurs who do that because I worked in mostly funded companies. And so tell me a little bit, how long did it take you to hire your do you have employees? Have you hired employees?
Exactly. Unfortunately, because of the COVID, I had to let go of a bit of most of I had 3 people, but now I just basically have 1 part-time, but because of the COVID. But
absolutely.
Yeah, so basically I just, through network too, right? So I hire people through networks,
Yeah. And did you say, okay, this is going to be my revenue goal before I hire one person? What was that strategy thinking behind before you, hiring that first person is nerve-wracking. At Queer Tech, and we're a nonprofit, and Andy and I get very stressed just thinking of the idea of having a full-time person. So when you have a business and that's your bread and butter, there is a lot of anxiety and stress and uncertainty around it. So tell us more just how did you make that decision? Did you have the revenue locked in? Did you have money in the bank?
Yeah, I was lucky because I had a bit of savings, so I had some wiggle room. Not too much saving, but I always had some wiggle room. So when I saw an opportunity, when I saw an opportunity, it wasn't 100% that they were gonna be a positive contribution to revenue, but when I thought it was gonna be 80% likely that they're gonna bring in the revenue, based on our client list. You know what I mean? Like based on what I saw for the future. That's when I hired them. But as you said, it's very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. And so tell us, what is it you're looking at next now? Hopefully the pandemic is starting to go away. I mean, the cases are going up, so we're not at the end of it. But I'm hoping by mid-2021, we're starting to see some glimpse of hope and normalcy. Like, what do you see is next for your company?
So yeah, the pandemic really accelerated our what we wanted to do. So we always wanted to, like, we started with like the evolution of, like, as you said, knowing the client, right? So the first thing that we did when we started, as I said, it's a video-based platform. So the first thing I went to the lab and actually, like, physically went to the lab, talked to the prof, was there when they filmed them. But slowly but surely, then I hired some people to do the filming while I was away. I still contacted the prof, and then slowly I was taken out of the whole equation.
Yeah.
And now, because of the pandemic, now we have to film remotely. So lots of our new videos is actually the profs themselves filming themselves, and then we edit it, we make it look nice. So now that what I want to do is actually, I'm looking for a developer actually to make I want to make the process even more automatic, right? So basically, as I said, there's 3 questions: introduce yourself, describe your research, explain what's important. And I want to have some kind of program where a person can just upload those 3 questions, and then it pops out a video after like 5 minutes that just assembles everything, looks for keywords, and we have a database of B-roll. So looks for keywords and associate the keywords with those B-rolls and put a bit of music. So something that's more automatic. So I really want to make it more automatic the next year.
That's amazing. And I know our community, there's a lot of developers out there. So if anyone is interested, reach out to Kasole to talk more about the opportunity. When I look at your platform and I see the videos, like how many videos do you do per year, per month, per quarter?
Because of the pandemic, we really went down. But before, we used to do quite a lot per month. But So.
And can you tell us about what's one of your favorite research videos that you can share with us?
Actually, my favorite one was I like big thinkers, and one of the researcher was building self-replicating. He was like working on self-replicating robots. So, and his goal is actually working with NASA. Actually, his goal is to build to bring those robots on the moon before a mission, and the robots will build like just basically like will start a base. And when working with the materials on the moon, they would start like doing some stuff, and then we'll start to build some fundamental materials, and then when the astronauts move in, they'll have something to work with. So that was really cool. That was like such a big thinking project that I really loved.
There is a side of me, the techie in me, that love technology. Like, holy shit, this is amazing and fascinating. But also, I'm like terrified. This is how the robot's gonna take over.
Exactly. And his thing too was like, he's like, oh yeah, you can apply on the moon because I'm working with NASA, but also you can work on it with the Sahara Desert, right? So if you go in the desert, you put some robots. They use the silicon and whatever, and they're gonna create something. So
send them to Morocco. We're building the largest. So Morocco is building the largest solar panel inventory in the world in the Sahara Desert, and by 2050 they want to be exporting it. But I look at it and I'm like, this is a great initiative. You need a lot of robots to clean this.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
That's amazing. So I want to touch base on. You mentioned, when we started the conversation, like being a Black person and looking at BC Word and looking at the statistics, that it was just like not worth your time kind of going there. But I want to understand, did being queer or your queerness impacted your entrepreneur journey in any way?
Oh, actually, actually, the light went up. Actually, it really did in a good way. Actually, being queer, you build very strong network. As a queer, like the queer community is a very strong community, right?
Absolutely.
So I feel that really helped me in building, like, even for support, like even now during the whole Corona issue, right? Like having a strong queer network really helps me move along, and that that really helped. That really helps. So yeah,
I absolutely. I believe in community. I'm someone who always believed we need to build a community around us, and there is nothing best than people who have been through similar experiences. We all have our unique experience, but we all go through similar things, and so it's great to reach out to the community, and it's very important. So I'm really happy that you took advantage of that, because there's so many people in the community that want to help each other, and sometimes you just have to give them that opportunity to do that. And have you ever, when you work with the government, your clients, your academia, are you afraid of telling people about your queerness? Are you worried that it will impact your business? I don't know. You are in the government world, the academia world. I feel like it's a very straight word. Tell us, does it come up?
I found the academia world to be much more friendly to queerness than the government world. It's much more open-minded in the academia world. So that's what I found. In terms of working around the world, there's because it's hard to, like, it doesn't come naturally. That conversation doesn't come naturally that I'm queer when I would talk to client, right? But actually, I really want. That's what I love. I really like the interview. I really want more queer researchers on the platform.
Yeah.
Because just to bring up the conversation, right? So as I said, the academic world is way more open than the government world. So when I talk to, for instance, researchers from South Africa, or I had one from Ghana, right? So I want them to, even companies, to look at our platform and see that there's folks working on queer issues, right? Or researchers working on queer issues, or even non-researchers, researchers that are not working on queer issues, but are still queer, like Sean, the person on our that actually on the video, right? Sean Hercules, he's a queer man from Barbados.
Yeah.
And see, I want people to see that queer people are also in the academic world.
Yeah.
And I really want to include more queer people on the platform. So.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing. Look, your business is about telling stories.
Exactly.
And having representation is matter, right? Because you're telling stories, you're sharing this amazing research, but we're also showing that diversity, right? And showing that there is different type of people doing that research and telling those stories, because I find the people gonna look at it and be inspired by it.
Exactly. So that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking that it's not, sure, my queerness is not always explicit, but I want to make it in a very sharing the stories of queer people around academia, right? So that's something.
That's amazing. So I want to, and I know time always catches us, so I want to talk about a couple of things. You wrote a book, an economics book called Adam Smith in Rhymes. I'm always fascinated by people who write books. Tell us a little bit more about the idea. Why did you write this book? What is it about?
Yeah, so that came up with when I was in Congo, when I thought about the idea for 5 minutes of science. So I don't know, that trip I was very inspired for some reason. So on that trip, I just thought of everybody always asks me, like, about economics, because I did economics in school. I wasn't working as an economist, so they always ask me about questions about economics and things like that. And I thought that it'd be a really cool way to explain economics like a really sweet way to do like, so basically what it is, it's a poetry book
Yeah.
that talks about like that A to Z book about economics. So we talk about stuff like E's for education, we talk about debt, we talk about inflation in that book. And yeah, it's a poetry book, illustrated. It's very beautiful looking. Yeah, it's, I don't know. It's like this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a very cool book, and I illustrated one of the illustrators. Actually, it's I found him in the Congo. So it's a guy in the Congo who does really cool illustration, and I was like, oh man, what you do is really cool. Can we work together? And was like, yeah, definitely. So
that's awesome. Would you see? Oh my God! Does this explain capitalism to kids?
Actually, yeah, there's one for capitalism. So it does. There's C's for capitalism. So it explains a lot of stuff.
Laura, this is a book you need to read. Definitely, for those who are interested to read the book, you can go on queertech.info/Kasole Nyembo book. We'll also post it on our social media after this, so you can have the link if you are interested. It's always amazing. My last question for you. During, it's been a pandemic. It's been a hard year. I can't even begin to think of being an entrepreneur, what it feels like, looking at your company and trying to survive, but also you're a writer and creative. How do you find inspiration, or where do you find inspiration when you feel like all the doors are closed and that you need to be inspired so you can move forward?
Honestly, what it is, it's kind of really simple, but it's just taking long walks. And like when you take a long walk, like at first you just walk, but then afterwards, like ideas come into your mind, right? So just let yourself be inspired, and also it's all about having a strong network. Yeah. So I got my partner here, which really helps me when I feel down. So that's really cool to have that. And as I said, there's with queer people, my family. So yeah.
That's amazing. I know we say simple, but really taking a break a couple of times a day and going on walk have also helped me. Honestly, sometimes I forget, and you stay in front of the computer and you feel stuck. And just going for a walk, and not just like a 5-minute walk, like do a 30-minute, 45-minute walk, really to help decompress and get your creative juice flowing and starting doing that. That's really wonderful advice. Where the time is coming up as and so thank you so much, Kasole, for sharing your story and for being vulnerable with us and telling us how you got started. Something I learned today from you, and I want people to remember, is that looking for a network and building a network and relationships in order to succeed is very important. So don't be afraid to reach out to people. Don't be afraid to share your ideas and ask for help. Nurture those relationships. I know it comes easy said than done, but really, if you even try and get to know one or two new people every week through LinkedIn, through social media, it will really help you along the way. So yeah, thank you again for coming and sharing your experience. Your LinkedIn is down here. If anyone have questions, you can reach out to Kasole on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you, Nelson.
Thank you. Wonderful. And so for those who are still online, as you know, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and learned as much as I did today, our goal is always to tell queer stories, either for people who work in tech or entrepreneurs. And so if you love what we do, you can support Queer Tech you can email us at nofelqueertech.ca and the queertech.ca. We're looking for inspiring stories for 2021 to share with the community, but we're also looking for donations. So if you want to support Queer Tech, it's queertech.org/support. Money will help us continue with the operation of the organization and really looking at growing these shows. And so thank you again, everyone who followed us. This is the last episode of 2021. We will be back, and we're planning to continue these live streams in 2021. Our next one will be on January 14 at noon. Stay tuned and follow us on social media so you can get the notification about these events. Happy holidays, everyone. I hope that you are taking some time for yourself to relax and decompress from a crazy year. And hopefully you'll be able to connect with your family on Zoom. Please stay safe and healthy. We are in this all together. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Thank you.
I love it. Thanks.